All right, we're going to take a tour of the shop today and see what I'm working on. I get questions all the time from people, in the comments and email. Are you ready for my guitar? So, here's what I got. I got 2 cases over here, 3 cases over here, so 5 guitars that I'm working on. Now, the thing is, those 2 and these 2, they're probably going to all be done at the same time. So, I'm not going to finish one and then have room for one, and all 4 are going to finish at the same time, it looks like. So let's take a look at this one. I'm using the GoPro today just because it's so convenient. This is a 63 D28. It's been in one of the other videos. I did Waverly tuners on it. I made a new bone nut. And I was going to try to use an actual ivory nut that I had left over, but I just couldn't get the depth and everything and shimming, and I got tired of it. The spacing was a little off, so I just made a new bone nut. It got frets, put 15 frets on it. Left the original frets up in here because nobody's going to play up there, So got that, got a neck reset. It got the popsicle bridge taken out because it has fingerboard cracks right here anyways, so that has to be repaired. Neck reset. Got the bridge taken care of. This is the one that had the short saddle slot in it. It originally had a long one. Somebody put a short one in it. I rerouted it back to the long. So here's a long saddle slot. Otherwise, the bridge looks really good. I'm not sure if it's original or not. If it's not original, it looks really good. So we're going to leave it. Here's the pickguard. The pickguard was curling up pretty bad and it shrunk. You can see the little bit of a shrinkage mark right there. The top is cracked right up in here. So I removed and it got a big crack back under here, underneath the pickguard, that I couldn't see until I took it off. And man, the spatula went clear through to the inside of the top. So that's how bad that crack was. So I glued all that up, and I glued this up, and I restuck the pickguard with sticky tape, which gives it, a little bit of movement should it shrink more, which it probably won't. This is a 63, so that's Brazilian rosewood you're looking at right there, which is cool. I'd hesitate on Norton. I scalloped the braces lightly. I would hesitate to modify early 60s like this if it was in, good condition, but this one's scratched up, beat up, and I'm almost certain that bridge has been off. It's torn up around here, and it had cracks in here. So you have to repair the cracks, and again, once you do that, then it's no longer original, and you might as well just go ahead and fix it up the way you want it. Plus, the owner says he's never going to sell this guitar. So, anyway, that's why I scalloped it. And the tuners too. I took the Rotomatics off and put Waverly tuners on there, so that's an extra screw hole in it and stuff like that. But it's a tool. So let's move the GoPro back over here. Let's see how this guitar sounds these days. Gotta get my tuner app up. Tuner app, I use Strobe Tuner Pro on my phone. And they want me to rate it. Look, guys, I'm doing an online review of it, okay? This is what it looks like. It's a free app. I like it a lot. I use Strobe Tuner, on a phone. Back in the day, the Strobe Tuners were actual crystals. So you don't get that obviously on your phone, but it's pretty good at reading it. So in tuning, I always check fretted notes too. I like to use D's and A's. And there's a G. Neck feels good. I like the new nut too. I immediately, you know, got good room for a B7 there. Easy to make clean notes. I thought I would try that. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I think honestly that's about as much bass as I would want to have. Um, Especially since I just scalped it a couple of weeks ago. So I'll see what the owner thinks about that. But I like it. I like the punchy high end, which you know, it's never going to be a pre-war because the X is in the wrong place, the top's wrong, all that kind of thing. So all I like to do is my scalp job is open up the bass a little bit, and I don't want to lose that mid-range and punch. And actually, to me, a lot of pre-wars are too bassy, you know. Not all of them, but I like a tighter sound personally. It cuts better through a band as long as it sounds good solo. But yeah, I like guitar sounds great. I mean, you know. I'm listening to the guitar. I'm listening to the guitar, not the song. So, okay. You know, that sounds good. I like about that much sustain. Gosh. All I got to do is put the final saddle on it, or it's got the final saddle. I need to make the final adjustment. The action's just a little bit high right now, which is fine. That's what I'm expecting. The saddle's not glued in, and so it's leaning just a little bit because that is pretty sharp angle. So I'm gonna get my feeler gauges here. I'm gonna check this action real quick. And yeah, 103. Yeah, 103. So I'm gonna drop it down to 93 thousandths of an inch, which means drop the action 10. That means the saddle goes down 20. Saddle is currently 155. So I'll drop it 20 thousandths of an inch. It's going to drop it to 135, and that's going to be perfect for a vintage saddle. Right now it's a little too tall. You can see it leaning just a little. No problem. I expected that. This is such a sharp angle right here where that low E comes up. It goes up like that. So it's putting a lot of forward force on it, making it want to lean. So by the time I drop that 20 thousandths of an inch, it's going to be about perfect. So I think that's all I got to do to this guitar. I was just letting it sit to see how the scalloping was going to sound, but gosh, I like it. Can always scallop more in a year or two, but you know, because it's going to take 2 to 6 months, whatever, for it to really open up. But I like the direction this is going. Sounds great to me. If this was my personal guitar, after I set that saddle, I probably would not change a thing on it. It's great. Neck is really nice and comfortable. It's got a soft rounded V, very much like a 70s neck. And 63, so it's 1 year off of my birthday. Alright, so let's go look at another guitar. Let's go put this one up. Irritating, hard to find bars. And I'll show it to you as soon as we get in tune here. Again. And again, I think I tuned this one. So let's see. Boom, perfect. Okay. So it's been stable for a good week. Ah. Almost dead on. Dead on. Dead on. Just a little sharp. Just a little. I mean, this is the strobe, so you know. It's dead on. I mean, so it stayed perfectly in tune almost for over a week. So that's nice. That means everything's stable. The action went up on it quite a bit after I had done the initial work. And so that was a lot of the reason I said send the guitar back, because the action shouldn't have gone up that much in just 2 or 3 months. It went from 90 thousandths of an inch to like 105, 110 even. It was 105. And that was too much action. So I reset the neck again, and it's got this irritating buzz. Let's get the buzz here, okay? Oh, Sean, here we go. Alright, this is a 70s. This is 10 years different from that 63 over there. This one's Indian Rosewood, but this is the really good Indian Rosewood with the little pepper sprinkles on it. I ought to probably do an A-B comparison between this guitar and that guitar, so that they have pretty much the same mods on them. Yeah, same 63. 63's got a T-bar truss rod instead of a square tube truss rod, but that's okay. Otherwise, they're about the same. They both have the same amount of scalloping, ebony bridges, right place, same tuners. This one's got Grover 18-to-1. That one's got Waverly's, big deal. Fresh frets, reset. They ought to be pretty comparable guitars, except for the Brazilian versus the Indian Rosewood. So that should be a pretty good comparison. Okay, so the problem with this guitar, the buzz, only on 2 notes. These 2 notes. And together. You can get a little bit of a buzz here, because the action is a little bit low right now. Yeah, good clearance, you know. But it's when the 2 notes are together. And to me, those are just ugly notes. I don't like the way they sound together, but it's part of a song that the owner wants to play. So you want to play those 2 notes, it's, you know, there it goes. Now, I've spent a lot of time messing with this, and the owner did a great job of troubleshooting it for me. I had him do a lot of things, you know, to see if it was worth shipping the guitar back, or if it was a loose tuner screw, or if it was a loose brace. Plus, when he hears a buzz, I've got to be able to duplicate that. And sometimes I can't duplicate it because I play different. Sometimes the owner is putting his finger back there too far back from the fret, causing a buzz there because he's not getting on the fret. So I've got to be able to duplicate it. He did a great job of that. Found these 2 notes, tapped on the neck, we decided it was likely, possibly, maybe a loose truss rod. Plus the action was too high. So when I thought about this, I thought, okay, I need to just take the neck off again, do a very, very, very slight neck reset on it. I took 6/1000ths of an inch off the heel, which is minuscule, you know. When I had the neck off, this is a hollow truss rod. Don't forget. So let's go get a hollow truss rod here so we can make sure you know what I'm talking about. And over here on my parts thing, there's a LMI, and it's up here on the shelf, so I'm standing on my tippy toes to see this thing. Okay, here's a hollow Martin square truss rod. It's square, and it is a hollow metal channel, which this end is plugged with a piece of wood, which is something I do. So this is what truss rod that is in that guitar. So what I did was, when I had the neck off, you know, I have access to the end of this thing. I mixed up some West Systems epoxy, which is a very thin, runny epoxy. And I used a wooden dowel that fits. There you go. Just a standard little wooden dowel. And I filled that hollow truss rod with epoxy. Down at the end of the neck, that thin epoxy will run out into the truss rod channel and re-glue the truss rod down there. So I had two goals on this thing, and the number one thing was to re-glue, to re-anchor the truss rod. So by running, you know, I've got the neck on the bench. I ran the epoxy down the inside of it. It's going to go down here and pool up on this end. Some of that's going to run out into the end of the channel and anchor the truss rod. So while I put this entire syringe of epoxy in there, it's a lot of epoxy, then I took the dowel and I pushed it down in there, and of course epoxy starts shooting out almost immediately because there's not much. I mean, I probably had it half full of epoxy, you know. So I'm pushing the dowel down there. It starts pushing epoxy down, and then I turned the dowel and, you know, kind of screwed it in there, smeared epoxy all over the dowel, cleaned up the excess that was coming out, cleaned up the excess that was coming out, cleaned up the excess that was coming out, got all that set in there. So basically I epoxied a dowel, a wooden dowel, from here to here. Now Stu Mack does the same sort of thing with a carbon fiber insert, and I've used that too. The problem that I have with it is that it's square. So, and it doesn't fit exactly in the truss rod. It can't, because if it fit exactly, you would never get it in there. So it's a molecular level, you know. There's got to be a little slack in there. You've got to take up that airspace with something, epoxy. So the problem is you can't be sure with a square truss rod. You can't rotate it. So you can't be sure you've got epoxy smeared all over the place. The second thing I found, and I've done it a couple of times, I had a real problem with buzzes. When you had a carbon fiber insert in there, if there was any kind of anything that would buzz, I don't know, it brightened up the guitar, which is not really what I want to do in the neck. In the neck, I want to woodify it, make it woodier sounding. I don't want to say I want to absorb vibrations in the neck, because I don't, but I want a woody sound out of it and not a ting carbon fiber sound. So long story short, I just had a lot of problem with buzzers, irritating little buzzers in the neck when I used the carbon fiber rod. I only did it 3 or 4 times and quit. But I used the same approach with the dowel. Now the advantage of it, and you maybe use a carbon fiber round dowel, but the wood dowel to me sounds right. So I spun it around in there, completely coated it with epoxy, left it standing up overnight, cut it off. And when I got done with that, I had tapped the neck before and after. So I got my little deal, my piano hammer, which Mario Poo sent me many years ago. And when I tapped the back of the neck before putting the dowel in, right there, I got a really, really hollow, echoey sound. And I thought, yeah, that's contributing to it, because obviously these are the two notes that he's playing. After I put the dial in there, this was a much more solid sounding sound. Solid sounding sound, of course it is. I also get a little bit, I can feel the vibration with my hand, and I'm getting a vibration in the middle of the neck, but that's okay because, you know, it's the middle of the span, so it's gonna vibrate. It's amazing how much this headstock is moving when I do that. That's very solid. And there's that sound. It sounds a lot more solid to me now. So is that the cause of the buzz, the source of the buzz? I don't know yet, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to hear buzzes. You know, I just can't hear them that well. So what I do is I call my neighbors over. I like to get women to do this because this is not sexist, but women have typically a better high frequency response, and that's just because your bones tend to be smaller. That's just the way they're wired. And I just noticed this many, many, many times over the years that, like, women, for instance, make great fiddle players because they tend to have a much better sense of pitch than most guys do. So anyway, and plus it's just a different set of ears. So I definitely like to get women and men to both hear the guitar because they hear differently, they have different sets of frequencies, and that sort of thing. So I had two of my neighbors have a listen to this guitar to give me another set of ears, because the other thing about troubleshooting a buzz like this, you've got to duplicate it, and then you got to make sure it's gone. And you need to have a couple of people listen to it. And I don't want this to run on for an hour, but I mean, I can give you stories where I have had 2 or 3 people sitting there listening to guitar, and they go, no, that doesn't have a buzz. And another person walks in and says, what's that buzz? And these guys are going, huh? And this guy hears a buzz, or this woman, or this whatever it is, you know. So it's always good to put a couple of sets of ears on this thing, regardless. All right, so we've been doing some testing on this, and I think we've got a back buzz going on here. So when you hit these 2 strings together, I think it's buzzing right here because this E is just barely clearing the first fret right here. And what happens, I got the buzz going. Everybody, 2 people, okay, we hear the buzz. And it took a minute for the buzz to get going. So it didn't just come up immediately. You know, there's a noise there, but the rattle really started about the 3rd or 4th strum when everything started getting really vibrating and exciting. So I had them reach over and just barely lay their finger on the strings right here, and boom, stop the buzz. Take your finger off, the buzz is back. Put your finger back on, the buzz is gone. And the funny thing is the capo didn't work. I put a capo on the 2nd fret, and it still buzzed. So that's crazy. You know, the capo ought to stop it. I don't know exactly what's going on there. So I do know I got the neck a lot flatter and straighter and solid feeling. I got the neck set fixed. And I don't know. I just know that on this guitar, these notes do not sound good. Yeah. That's usually the worst note ever on most acoustic guitars. That's pretty good by itself. And when you get up in here, the strings are getting really short, and they're just not going to vibrate good. They're big strings, short span, they're not going to vibrate. When I went to music school, South Plains College, one of the first lessons that my guitar teacher said was you draw a line from here to here, draw a line from there to there, and everything above that is going to be a bad note, and everything below it's going to be a good note. And, at the time I thought, oh, come on, man. That limits half the fingerboard. I mean, what do you do about... what do you do about something like that? But you know what? Over time, I realized what his point was. And his point was, it's not that you can't play those notes, but the tone of these notes is going to be different from the same note played down in here. These are longer back here. There's more string to vibrate. It's a little bit lighter string, so you're just going to get more string vibrations going on. It's a different tone, that note, than that note. That one's dull, bright and snappy, So if you have a choice between playing this note or this note, you should play this note. That was the point. It's not like you totally avoid this, because obviously if you're playing swing chords, you're up in here. But that's different because you're looking for that boom, pop, boom, pop, boom, pop sound anyways, as opposed to that kind of tone. So, I understand what's going on here is that this is a nasty sounding combination of notes right there on this guitar. The guitar body is tuned to something. You're always going to have a frequency that sounds bad on every single guitar because the body is tuned to a certain frequency. The neck is a frequency. The tuners are a frequency. Everything is a frequency. And at some point on every instrument, you're going to hit a wolf tone. And all you do, the best you can hope for, is to move the wolf tone around to something that you don't normally play. But we got to play these two notes right now. And just troublesome guitar. Because it's too bad. Because the rest of it sounds awesome. Well, sure. I don't know what to do about that now. I've done everything. I'm going to lower the nut just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit, and I'm going to see what happens in. Again, I got to get somebody in here to help verify that that buzz goes away. The trouble with lowering the nut, though, if this point right here and that nut, those two notes, if this is causing a back buzz right there, and I lower the note, then when I come up here to this note, that clearance is going to come up again, and I'm just going to create another back buzz. So, somewhere along here, there's going to create just enough of a gap that that string will always clear. Maybe not. Maybe if I drop it 1/1000th of an inch, maybe it will lay flat the whole way. And then we would take care of the back buzz problem. So, we'll see. Is it? Good sounding guitar. Okay, so this one got a massive bridge scoot, 1/4 of an inch. And I actually had to do it twice because the first time I didn't have it far enough back, and the saddle was sitting back in here, and that looks horrible. But I got a new bridge on it, Madagascar rosewood. I did the bridge plate, scalped the braces. It's just a complete 70s overhaul. Now, one thing about this one is this one did get 2 1/4 inch bridge spacing, which he has a Collings which has 2 1/4 inch bridge spacing, so he's used to that. I love 2 1/4 inch spacing here. It's just a perfect width for me, for the hybrid picking stuff I do. It just gives a little more room. You've got to be careful not to pull the strings off. You know, they get close to the edge here. But you can mitigate that a little bit by pulling the nut spacing in just a tiny bit. And you shouldn't be pulling strings either ways. You know, when you pull the string like that, you're pulling it out of tune. So, okay, so he did not have a neck reset. He didn't need a neck reset. I got the bridge height set so that he wouldn't need a reset or anything, and I didn't have, we're talking 20 thousandths of an inch on the bridge. Looks good. Did the bridge plate, scalloped, tuners. I haven't done the nut yet. That looks really good. Frets are good. So a little less than the other one. No neck reset, no frets, no nut yet. Tuners, scallop, bridge plate, bridge, popsicle brace. Have I done the popsicle brace? I have not done the popsicle brace. So this one gets a popsicle brace removal today. And it has a temporary micarta saddle in it, so I don't imagine it sounds very good right now. And let's see what the action's doing on this one. So 90 thousandths of an inch. And it's a little high. 90, let's try 98. 100, it's going to be pretty close to 103. Just because I said it hasn't had a neck reset doesn't mean it might not need one. God, it's borderline. It's borderline. It's got the perfect saddle on it now, but the action is just a little too high. So he may need a neck reset. As that scalloping kicks in. Where's my light? I did scallop it, right? Yeah, it's scalloped. It's got the bridge plate. It's been sitting. And this is why I like to let them sit for as long as I can, because, it takes a month, 2 months for that top to really pop to where it's going to be. Gosh, this guitar is so marginally neck reset. I'm probably going to do it. It ought to be right so that it never has to be done again. And the frets are okay. I think I'll leave the frets alone. I think I will do a neck reset on it. I don't really want to because it's just more time and it's just almost there. It's not a bad angle. So, here's the saddle. It's a little bit low, but I have not slotted the bridge yet. That's going to move the E in. I don't know. I feel like I should. So. 2 1/4 is nice. So I'm going to make notes on this one. So it looks like the 63 is almost done. Let's see what that customer says about that 73. And then this one, I'm going to write down on here I need to do the popsicle brace. Probably going to go ahead and do a neck reset. And what's going on with the nut? Double checking the action at the nut to make sure it's not too high or too low. And relief looks pretty good. The one thing about doing the neck reset here is, like I showed you on the other guitar, then I have an opportunity to plug that hollow truss rod with wood. And I really think that improves the sound. So I'll be able to kill a couple birds. 40 thousandths of an inch on the frets. I don't think it's just not going to need frets. It wouldn't be that bad to do a quick neck reset on it. It's not going to take much. And I can plug that hollow truss rod. I can get this where we want it. Because this is 120 thousandths here. between 120 and 130 would be perfect. It wouldn't hurt anything for that saddle to go up to 130 just to give a little bit more use out of it. So there's a couple of advantages of doing the neck reset, even though it costs money and everything. I'd also like to scoot these strings over just a tiny bit, which I can do with the neck reset. I can angle that neck over just a hair. It's not bad now, but it wouldn't hurt for that to move over 5/1000ths of an inch. So that's on the list then for today. I need to do his popsicle and go ahead and do a neck reset on this guitar. Then it gets a pick guard, obviously, and then we're getting almost done with this one. So Kevin Scott, this one's moving along pretty good. A couple more weeks on this one. Righty, this one is a new D28 820. It's not that new. That must be what, 90s? 80s? I gotta look up the chart. I'm not that good. It's just a stock D18, and he wanted me to do the work to it. So it got, I got tuners because it had the shallow closed back out. I can just barely see the mark. It got Waverleys on it. It's gonna get a bone nut because it has a Corian nut. Frets look fine. Popsicle brace came out. It's got a micarta saddle, so it's going to get a bone saddle. We got the bridge slotted, and it got antique acoustic bridge pins in there. It got the braces scalloped. So, the question on this guitar, it's got a nice top on it. The question on this guitar is it going to need a neck reset? Got an adjustable truss rod. The leaf is pretty flat. The saddle angle is very shallow. And like over here, I can pull that E-string around under full tension. And that's not good. It's slotted. I don't want to cut deep super ramps in it. So let's see what 90,000 looks like on this. Oh, it's low. He'll be alright. He needs a taller saddle. He's got a really super low action on this. So, let's see. 84. He's got about 86,000ths of an inch on that. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to need a neck reset for. He'll need one sooner rather than later because that's not a great saddle height, but another 10 years maybe. 76 over here, just to see what the E. Oh, geez. 60. Oh yeah, golly, that low, the high E is 60,000ths of an inch. That's lower than my electric guitars. So that's got to go up a little bit. I'd like to see that at 80. 76 at least. So let's call it 80, so it goes up 20,000ths of an inch on the action. 60 to 80, 20. 40,000ths over here. Right now it's 80,000, so you add 40, that's going to be 120. And that's perfect, you know, that's great. So that's good. So he's not going to need a neck reset. He needs to have that action raised up a little bit. And then he'll be good to go. So on this guitar, the bracing is done. I guess all I got to do is put the saddle in. I've already shaved the back braces, yeah. Shaved the back braces. So he just gets a new saddle and nut. God, I could be done with this in today. See if I can find his sheet. Where is he? Oh, here it is. A long string of numbers on there. So what he needs, got that. He needs 79, I don't know what date it is. It's saddle and nut. And then he's done. Great. Okay, so I got my work laid out for the day already. I'm going to do the saddle and the nut on this guitar. I'm going to do the popsicle brace and pull the neck on that guitar. Probably pull the neck first and then do the popsicle brace. That'll be enough for today. I got one more guitar over there. Let's get it out and look at that. This is going to be an hour-long video. Here's our last guitar, and this one came in, and he said, I've worked on other guitars for him. This guy owns that, or did own, maybe he still has it, that fantastic Bourgeois Vintage D. That's like one of the best guitars I've ever reviewed on here. I just was really taken by that guitar. I'm not normally a big fan of Bourgeois in general, but that one was, I'm not a fan. It's just that one really impressed me today. So this is 140. What's that make it? 50s, 60s? D28 Brazilian rosewood again. Look at the color difference on the neck on this one. Between the body and the neck. It needs a neck reset basically. Saddle is almost non-existent. It's got that old style tuners on it. Look at that. You don't see those originals very often anymore. He said do whatever I need to do to it. Well, his frets are pretty bad, and if I'm going to do a neck reset, I should probably just go ahead and do the frets. So I suggested doing the frets, doing the neck reset, and then it's got the typical, let's get the camera on this. It's got the typical ivory nut. And here's the spacing for the E and A at 245. And over here, it wobbles like crazy. And then from the D, golly, from the D to the G, 265. So 245, 265, 270, and 250. Gosh, I'm going to read the numbers off as we go across, okay? 240, 247, 265, 270, and 250. So that nut spacing is just all wonky. That's it's an ivory nut. I'm probably just going to replace the nut. I mean, I've done things where fill in the slots with bone and then recut it. But then with the new frets, I'm not sure how the height is going to be. So then you're talking about 2 shims. Oh, wow. 45. So the height might still work. I don't know. I might end up filling in the slots and just recutting this and using the original ivory nut so that we can get the nice yellow patina and the ivory and all that. Looks like the height will be good enough to work with. The problem with these frets is not the height, it's just the flat tops. So I'm still going to do some frets on it. He wants me to talk about scalloping. I don't know about that. No. I don't know if this guitar has got enough wrong things with it to justify scalloping. I don't know. I'm really hesitating on that because the bridge looks really good. Looks like an original bridge. Original saddle. I don't see anything non-original on it. I don't know. I mean, it's been oversprayed. Maybe. It looks funny. It looks like it's a thicker finish. Got some cracks in the top here. That bridge has got, I see it in the light. The bridge has been drilled right here. Probably the bridge popped off at one time and they used to bolt them down. So I bet you the bridge plate is going to have holes in it. Now we're looking at non-originality here. The bridge popped off. They would put holes in it at one time. So we go, now we can see. Bridge has been drilled. They put bolts in it at one time. That was a fairly common repair. That's consistent with the cracks back here. that the bridge popped off and they just bolted it down. And then the bridge bolts caused stretch marks. The cracks have been repaired. They've been oversprayed right there. It looks like that finish looks just a little too glossy and thick. And I'm going to find holes in here. Bridge plate is cracked completely down the middle. I'm not convinced that's an original bridge plate. There's the holes. Gosh, that's ugly. Man, I hate to replace too much stuff. But a bridge plate in really bad shape. It's got cracked completely. Well, that's basically cracked in half. So that's not offering much support. I have to think about whether I'm going to violate the originality and put a new bridge plate in. Don't know. Got to think about this one a little bit. Ethics. It's got the original finish. Thinking about it. Okay. This one I'll have to do for quite a while though, so I've got 2 or 3 weeks to think about. So that's the last one to do. So anyway, that's a run of the shop. That's the kind of workload I have. That's the things I'm doing. I swear I see 6 guitars. No, there's 5. Okay. That's the kind of stuff I've got to do. What I've done today is do triage, basically. I look over what I have to do, get things organized, prioritized. What can I get done today? What's going to need to sit? Like when I do the popsicle brace, I'm going to put wet sponges on top of it and let it soak. And I found that that really helps loosen the glue up. It comes off easier, cleaner. Doesn't hurt anything. So I'm probably going to do the saddle, the nut, set sponges on that one guitar, do the popsicle brace, and then pop the neck, and then it'll sit, and then it'll be done for the day. Tomorrow, maybe I'll put the neck back on that guitar, whatever. But I get 2 guitars done, 3 guitars done, 3 of them done this week. And then I have like 50 waiting to get in line. So I'll go through my email list and see which ones appeal to me and which ones have been waiting the longest and which ones maybe I can get done quick, relatively quick, and etc. And he said I could keep this guitar for a year if I needed to, so gives you plenty of time to think about it. So, all right, see you later.